in cosmology, we should understand that the moon is born out of his mind, or conversely, our mind is functioning through our moon. And by moon, we should understand the principle of moon, not the satellite of moon. Just as by man or mankind, we understand the mankind, not this particular man or that particular man. The moon is a principle which belongs to what we call the lunar principle. In every solar system, the moon is born through the lunar principle. Similarly, from the solar principle, the sun is born. So there are three principles mainly in creation according to the scriptures themselves. The solar, the lunar, and the fire. Three principles. From the principle of fire, there will be the birth of three fires in every cosmos. That is what you know from the cosmic fire. It is from the principle of fire. There are three fires at first coming out. See. Similarly, from the solar principle, the solar god Logos is created. So we have the sun globe, the sun's rays, and then the construction of the solar system, the fabric. And from the lunar principle, we have the phenomenon what is called reflection. And any phenomenon of reflection is called lunar by nature. And any surface that reflects light is called the moon in general. And our moon is one among them, the satellite moon. The reflecting phenomenon, the phenomenon of reflection. For example, if our face reflects in the mirror, we say it is the moon phenomenon. Like that.
This is because the mind is the reflection of the I am, of the higher self.
Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly. The I am is the real light, and the mind is the reflecting surface or the concept or the idea of I am. So if we try to understand with the mind what I am is, we will get only the idea or reflection. That's why the process should be reversed, and the mind should be absorbed into the solar principle before we can understand or know what the I am is.
And then are these high beings also in a certain stage of discipleship, if they have to go in a higher state of consciousness in the evolution, in the process of evolution?
Evolution is retracing the path in the principles.
Yes, this is then what we call, I understand it like that, the cosmic astral plane.
Ah, yes, exactly.
Cosmic mental plane.
Yes, yes. Above the individual mental plane, there is the planetary mind. Above the planetary mind, there is the solar mind. Above the solar mind, there is the cosmic mind. So there are cosmic 7 principles, on the background of which we have the solar 7 principles. And on that background, still narrow, we have the planetary 7 principles.
Yes, and for these minds, there is always a kind of moon reflector.
Yes.
On all these levels.
On all these levels. But when it goes to the soul level, we have what is called the higher moon or Soma principle, nurture. That's why it is called the higher octave or the replacement of a higher consciousness to moon. The moon is to be replaced by a higher planet.
Just to say that we can not only theoretically say moon, soma, and the next one will be, yes. Then if we go in the cosmic mental plane, there's also a reflector.
In the cosmic mental plane,
Yes.
it is on the cosmic mental plane. It is called Vena, the musician, or the Gandharva.
This
This is the hierarchy or the ladder.
Yes. And so we have 7.
Yes. So here we experience what is called emotion.
At the moon. At the moon.
Yes.
Yes.
Here we experience what is called devotion.
Emotion, devotion.
Devotion,
I see.
which is filtered, pure. Emotion is the lower aspect of devotion. And then here we experience what is called the light or intuition.
Light.
Intuition.
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 Yes. So intuition is total absorption of the individuality and the personality into the highest plane. So intuition generally is understood in a lower sense. But when we are in a state of intuition really, it is that plane that sees and speaks or communicates, but not the personality. That is the unit does not exist except for the vehicle. See? So for this it is the moon, for this it is Soma or Neptune, for the higher one it is Vena or the Gandharva, about whom we were previously speaking. That is the musician. So here we have seen moon, the moon born out of the mind of this Purusha. That means the mind of this Purusha is the cosmic mind existing in eternity.
This is Soma. Is this Soma?
Yes, for our purposes we can say it is the cosmic mind, Vena level.
The Vena level.
Vena level. And from that, the periodicity, the periodical functions will be coming down into the cosmos. From the cosmic level, the various systems of cosmos will be coming to be distributed into various solar systems. So, those which come down are periodical, and the principles that are there are eternal. You see. So from the eternal principle of mind, the periodical principle of the moon comes down. That is what is meant here. That which comes down is periodical, because it again goes like that. From the eye of this Purusha, which is eternal, the sun globe, which is periodical, comes down as the eye of the solar system. And on the third plane, we have our faculty of seeing, which is called the eye, caused by this fellow, the periodical one, the sun globe. So, in 3 levels, everything. From the eternal eye, the sun, comes the sun of the solar system. So, from the eye, the solar system comes. From the solar system, there is the birth of the eye or the faculty of sight. So we have to understand every one of these in 3 steps. The eternal eye, then the sun globe, then the eyes of the observers or the devas or the created beings. Just as we understood the eternal mind from which the lunar principle comes, and from our moon our mind comes.
Mm.
So we have the eternal principles which have no coming and going, but only the dormant existence, that is the potential existence. And then the periodical beings who come and go, and then the individual existences that are created entities.
And the moon is also the emotion.
Ah, yes. Because,
The mind and the emotions are.
yes, the moon, the activity of emotion is conducted by moon. Exactly, moon is mind, but the mind is not independent in us. It is with all the systems inside. So the reaction of the systems to the mind is what we call emotion. Just as on the planetary level, the moon governs the tides of the liquid, the movement of the liquid on this earth. For example, the tidal waves of the ocean, ebb and tide, you see, they are influenced by the moon. Similarly, the liquid content in our body is also governed by our moon principle or our mind. When our mind is tranquil, the movement of the liquid, that is water, in our blood, etc., will be uniform.
Is this is now in very close relationship what we call kama manas?
Yes, yes, exactly. The moon is the lord of kama manas. That is what we call the mind.
Mm-hmm.
What we generally call the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Sanskrit, kama means desire.
Mm-hmm.
Kama manas means the mind of the desire body. You see. Now, then with this data, Blavatsky asks us to go into the solar principles, planetary principles, and the arrangement of the created mechanisms which we call our bodies and mechanisms. That is how she builds a staircase. In her secret doctrine, she has constructed a staircase from the understanding of the things around us and beings around us, gradually up to the hierarchy and the cosmic, so that there may not be any confusion in understanding, because all these are abstract entities, not physical. So when there are some hundreds of abstract entities, there should be a system or a syllabus or a method which leads us without confusion. See, if you are teaching about these parts, automatically there is no confusion because we are seeing them. But if you are teaching of values, about some values which cannot be seen or observed by the senses, abstract values and quantities, when they are much in number, there should be a syllabus. So in the secret doctrine, for the first time, you will see the syllabus into this wisdom. That's why we are not confused, because of the system and the arrangement given by Blavatsky, or more correctly by the masters through Blavatsky. Right. So these are the two principles. Then mukha, from the mouth. There is the Deva called Indra, the leader of the Devas, of a group of Devas. The third line, we have the birth of Indra.
No, we did it already.
Yes, about him we are explaining. Mukha Indrasya.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a little bit of detail about Indra.
I see.
You have seen previously in our last year's Patanjali's lessons. The functions of the five senses and the one who receives these five senses and the one who radiates out through the five senses. The one who receives is the negative ion in us, and the one who radiates is the positive ion or the Lord consciousness in us. So, we have the taste aspect, the smell, hearing, sight, and touch. These are the five faculties that are working in our scheme or the machine, the system. And this fellow, the negative ion, has with him what we call the individual mind or kama manas. You see. So there are 6 principles in all. The kama manas is working through all the other 5. Because when we are seeing through the eye, it is the mind that sees or identifies with the object. When we are hearing through the ear, it is the mind that hears.
But this is interesting because I read an article on the modern science now, and they are so far now that they understand this is not like television.
Yes.
This is now because they followed all these nerves, and they learned that they are not entering on a screen, that they're entering on another part of the brain.
Yes.
So they said there is another process going on, what we not yet understood right.
Yes.
And this is exactly that.
Yes. Yes. That's why when the nose is functioning for smell, it is the mind that is smelling, not any part of the nose.
Mm-hmm.
You see? When the tongue is functioning for taste, it is the mind that is tasting and not the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the 6th principle which functions through all the other 5. Remaining 5. That is why in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it is, which deals directly with the same subject called Purusha, the threefold aspect of the Purusha and the cosmic or the third background Purusha. 15th chapter it deals. Here he says that the whole mechanism is a 5-petaled flower. It is like a flower of 5 petals. And the mind is the 6th to each of these 5. it is a common factor. All these five have their sixth principle in the mind. So we have a group of five potentialities or capabilities or faculties working, and a sixth. You see? And the sixth is called the leader of the five.
I think this is a very interesting point to reflect about. That is so essential in the meditation that we turn this negative mind into the positive and not to concentrate on vegetarianism and so on.
Exactly.
Because if we change that mind, then it will change automatically also these senses.
Exactly so. Exactly so.
And what is doing very often today, they are concentrating on the one of the five or two of these aspects.
Yes.
And this is confusing.
That's why they can't go into meditation.
No.
They do concentration and they call it meditation. Concentration prevents us from going into meditation. Therefore, the yoga practice is never concentration but the opposite of it, the process of relaxation of the lower principles on the background of the higher principle. So you have to make a relaxation of the lower tendencies upon the background, just as the waves of a river merge in the river. The lower tendencies or activity should be allowed to relax and into the background. Sometimes ignorantly it is explained that yoga is a process of concentration. Unfortunately, it's not. Yoga is the art of relaxation. See, they also instruct us in the books, concentrate for 5 minutes a day and all that. So the mind goes into concentration camps.
What makes the mind taste and hear and
Pardon?
what makes the mind taste, to hear, smell? I mean, I
It
got
is,
the mind.
it is its property. A property is given to the mind because mind is a part of yourself. Just as your hair or your skin is a part of yourself, the mind is a part of yourself thrown to the surface. And just as your skin has the property of the sensation of touch, the mind has the property of working through the five senses. It is an instrument. Just as every instrument has its own capability, the mind has its capability. It is a law in creation that the mind is endowed with such power. See?
I mean, just does it by itself? I mean, there
No,
is-
not by itself. By the properties given to the mind by the nature. Just as water flows downwards.
I mean, I move my arm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And then I say, okay, my mind is telling me to bring my arm up. But what tells the mind to tell me to bring my arm up?
Yes, beyond the mind, there is some other chapter. We have to go to the next chapter. Now we are in the anatomy of one chapter. Beyond the mind, the I am is there, which is nothing but the space in which we are living. That is yourself, the real yourself. That orders the mind to ask the hand, do like this. So now we are dealing with the chapter of mind and senses. Not that the mind is ultimate. This is only one paragraph, one chapter. So there are 5 faculties, and each faculty is governed by one deva, and there are 5 groups of devas working for these 5 faculties in us. You see, these devas are called the devas of enjoyment. In the Veda, they are called enjoyment devas. Because what for the senses serve you? To enjoy the outer world in 5 terms. And this fellow, the mind, is called the lord of, or the leader of these devas. You see? And especially when he is operating through the taste of the tongue and speech expression, he is called Indra, the lord or the leader. Because the other 4 senses can work only when there is supply of food to the supply of fuel to the machine. And this one faculty makes the body take in food. So it is the subsistence. It is the cause of the survival of all the other. Therefore, the mind, when as long as it is in contact with the function of taste, it is called Indra, the leader of the 5 groups of devas.
Then in the taste is the will aspect to find in the taste.
Yes.
Is there the will aspect for about
Exactly. The will aspect is protracted, or it is extended into the taste, especially because it has to make the machine survive.
Exactly. Yes.
You see, that's why it is the most powerful of all the 5.
Without will, it does not work.
So he is called the Indra. So from the mouth, Indra is born. That means the faculty of taste and the faculty to express is given a special power, and that particular deva is made to function there. And that is what we call the mouth, the taste and the speech. So they are more important than what we understand.
So a baby tastes first, then it comes out. A
What?
baby tastes is the first thing when a baby.
Certainly, exactly. That is also given in the scriptures. In some other places in the same scripture, it says it is called the mukhya. That means the foremost. Because when a child comes to earth first, he takes the breath and the taste, the food. They are the foremost. You see? That's why the instinct to taste is made to operate immediately after birth. The other things may not work, may work, or it may take some time. Sometimes if the child is sick, the other things may take, the child may not be able to see for about 6 hours sometimes. No problem if the child is able to just taste, because it lives. So Indra is born out of his mouth. And then there is another fellow called Agni. Agni means fire in 3 planes. This fellow also works through tongue, the mouth. Because what is it that makes the child taste at first? It is what we call appetite. That is the capacity to receive and assimilate. That is the process of combustion that is going on inside.
But this is also the will to live.
Yes, this is all part of the will to live. So the the fire escapes into the newly born child in the form of the taste and appetite. So, the appetite is said to be the first form of Agni who conducts the fire offering sacrifice once again, because the Devas started their game with that. You see, they started their yajna or their play with burning and offering, that is combustion. So once again, the same thing is started here. That is, what is taken in is burnt. And that fellow who is burnt inside is distributed to all these fellows. You see, that means what we call food is taken in and it is being combusted and distributed to make the system function. Therefore, he is called the first Agni who enters and who begins to work. That's why this Agni is called the head of the house. The head of the house. Just as there is the master of the house. Anyway, in any family or house, we have who is the master of the house. So this fire is called the master of the house to this system or organism. So that's why these two fellows, Agni and Indra, are born out of the mouth of that Purusha. That's why they function through the mouth of the living beings. See, is it clear, sir?
Yes.
And then from the pulsation of that fellow, our air is born. What is air? How is it functioning? Yes, sir? What is it that we call air, the gaseous state of matter? In the scriptures it is said that space, when during its process of pulsation, is called air. That is the definition of air in the scripture. The space during its function of pulsation is called air. That is what we call the gaseous state. That is next to space. That's why Pythagoras also says space is decomposed into spaces, and that is air. That is what Pythagoras says. Space is decomposed into spaces, and that is air. So, from the activity of the pulsation of space, we have the existence of what we call air. Again, the same three principles. From pulsation we have air. From air we have respiration. On the third stage. So our functions are on the third stage. So from the pulsation, which is eternal, comes the air. And from the air, we have our own pulsation called respiration. You see, when the Tibetan speaks of the law of pulsation, he speaks of the eternal principle, not the other things. When Charcoal speaks of what we call the law of pulsation in space, he is speaking of the uppermost principle, which is eternal. Always it is pulsating. That's why the universes or the galaxies of solar systems are coming and going. See, there,
Is there another name for the eternal mouth?
pardon?
Another name.
Is there another name for the eternal mouth?
Oh, this one?
Yes.
It is simply called mouth.
This mouth.
Yes. This is called eye because
Never look a gift horse in the mouth.
we speak in correspondences with what we have.
Okay.
Because we can understand things only with reference to the known quantities. So from known to unknown, but they give us the 3 stages of understanding. So this is the import of this stanza. Yes.
For some reason, we're all talking today.
Pardon?
For some reason, we are all talking today.
Yes.
There is an American or an English expression, never look a gift horse in the mouth. And that means when somebody gives you a horse, you don't examine the teeth,
Yes.
which would embarrass him.
Yes.
But you have told us that horse is fire,
Yes.
is anyi.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that mouth is perhaps the gift horse.
Yeah. Exactly, sir. It must be.
Right.
Yes. We'll go to the next stanza also if you are not too tired. The next stanza. Nabhya asi antariksham shirshno diyau samavartata padbhyam bhumir dishah shrotrat तथा लोकान् अकल्पयन् तथा लोकान् अकल्पयन् नाभ्या आसीत् अंतरिक्षं शीर्ष्णो द्यौ समवर्तत पद्भ्यां भूमिर् दिशः श्रोत्रात् तथा लोकान् अकल्पयन् नाभ्या नाभ्या means from navel and also from the center, which has 2 meanings. Navi means any center, and also Navi means in your body, your navel, the Manipuraka chakra. Asi, you have seen, became Antariksham. Antariksham means space. Actually, the word etymologically means the interval between 2 entities, or the gap between 2 existences, which we call space. Then Shirshno means from the head. Shirsha is head. You have seen in the first stanza, Sahasra Shirsha. Shirshno means from the head. Jau means light. Samavartata means well manifested. So we have space where that fellow has his navel, that is his belly. And where his head is, from his head, we have the light well manifested from the head of that fellow. And Padhyam, from the 2 feet. That is the meaning. Pada means feet, from the 2 feet. In the previous stanza, we have got it, Padhyam, from his 2 feet. Previously, laborer came out, from the feet, there was the laborer in this social level, but in the cosmogonic level, Bhumi, that is the earth, is born out of his speech.
Bhumi, the earth.
The earth. Sorry, you have to split up like this here, Bhumi. When you separate, it becomes Bhumi.
Bhumi.
Yeah, Bhumi. Bhumi. Bhumi.
Bhumi.
Bhumi, yes. Bhumi. Kesa, Rodusonal written. I written the H in my language. Automatically, I put it in our language. Bhumi. That means the earth. So, from his feet came down the earth. Instead of his feet being placed on earth, the earth was placed under his feet.